with no further ado, I'm going to invite my colleagues back on stage, and we can do an Ask Us Anything. Ask about if you have questions about the AmplifyUp program, founder learnings, like mentor experience, like what James and Nancy were put through as mentors. Same with Peter. Also, like, what did your participation get out of it, etc. That would be awesome to share. And then also, if you have any questions about how the funding works, etc., we're happy to answer those questions. So I'm going to go ahead and have Kyle, Andrea, Daniel, I see y'all, and Cortland, come on back on. Hey, so good to see you guys. All right, so does anybody have any questions for us? It could be anything. Go ahead, Ted.
Is there anybody besides Tara Spalding that knows more about accelerating early stage companies?
Yes, there are many people. Okay, so Ted's putting me on the spot here. Oh, Ted. I'm like blushing. I don't know everything about accelerating. Well, thank you. But you know what? I'm lucky to have people like you in my life, because like if it was just up to me and I was working on an island, the island would be underwater. So yeah, it's well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Any questions about our program, about our accelerator, anything that I can answer? Yes. How about some specifics? What would you? Yeah, absolutely. So our funding program is not fund based. So our whole thing is completely different. We collect funding through the open SPV. Our parent company does contribute into it, but it's a very small amount compared to the total raise. So the interesting thing about Boom Startup is you don't come here hoping to get a check. You come here to figure out the path to find your right investors who will invest the check and the advisory and all that such. Nothing is guaranteed. We have had a couple of AmplifyUp graduates that made it to pitch day and never even raised a fund through our SPV. They received direct investment, which is awesome, because at least we gave them that sort of skill set. But that certainly does happen. And so if we were fund-based, that would be different. We would say, hey, look, you come in and you get accepted and you graduate, you get 100,000 or whatever. We don't do that. PAX Momentum is one of our sister accelerators. They were just, in fact, on a presentation with us last week. They award $100,000 to people who are accepted into their accelerator, and their focus is on sales. So there are a lot of fabulous accelerators that we work with that have those sorts of programs. But great question. Thank you for asking. I would love to hear from any of the founders about the whole investor strategy experience from you guys, and how how you didn't like it and then you did.
I can jump. You mean the accelerator program?
How the investor strategy affected you.
Could you mean the Boom Startup Accelerator program that we went? It was tough. It was really, really, really intense. And that's how I describe it to everyone. But it was actually it was probably the best program I have also done. I've learned the most. But it was kind of like being back in grad school, where you had homework every single week. You know, to practice pitch, you always wanted to show up and present your best. And so it was intense, but I learned a tremendous amount. And Tara did an amazing job. She was not only during the calls that we had on a weekly or sometimes twice a week basis, but you could call her, you could text her, you could set up additional times to practice pitches, and she was always there. And yeah, I'm very grateful for the experience I had in this program.
Yes, I'll jump in really quick. The process was to play off Kyle's awesome product. It was eye-opening once we got in and actually understood what was needed from us and the amount of content that we would have to absorb and the actual process that would be expected from the investors. So to kind of play back for me, it was, I entered with a lot of murky water. It was really brown. And then by the end, it was, clean and filtered. And it really helped us to know what was coming. And also the commitment that we're making with these partnerships. It's not just the check. This is, someone that we're bringing in and, a type of marriage. And so we're really interested in speaking with people and building those relationships to see where it goes. So thank you so much for all the hard work, and you and your team, Tara.
Okay, we got a question about the entrepreneur curriculum, and we'd love for Cortland and Kyle to jump into if you can. But basically, it's a set 12 weeks. The invitations went out to 19 companies, and then we accepted 9, and only 6 graduated. And the 12 weeks, like, they knew when they were signing up exactly when we were meeting. Everything is 100% done virtually. And all of the dates and times were scheduled in advance. Like Andrea, how dare she? She went to Italy for a week, remember? And she was like, I'll just catch the recordings. There's still homework expected, and we still have one-off situations. We met every Monday for 90 minutes going through training together, given a homework assignment, and then we met on like Wednesday or Thursday, right, James? And then it was the presentation of the homework assignments, what we called one-on-ones, but it was a group one-on-ones. I know the name seems weird, but oh well. And then the thing is that the group one-on-ones, people like Peter would listen and would provide feedback into the platform about what each of the founders were saying. Then we collected the feedback from investors like Peter and Stephanie Sims, Nancy, and then just say, okay, now here's the area that people don't believe in the topic we're covering, because we did a deep dive. We did that 12 times. Each of the 12 topics, we're not going into like product market fit, pricing elasticity and such. We're really going into the brainchild of becoming an operator instead of being completely fascinated about your invention and like, oh yeah, I've got a really cool stick. No. You've got a really cool company. This is the first of many, right? And so that's the sort of transition that we really focus on. I would love to hear Cortland or Kyle's feedback from how the curriculum was paced and the topics.
The intensity did a really good job of ensuring none of us could hide anything. All of it was going to get picked apart. You could try to hide, but you were just making it worse. And that was a really, really good thing, because us being forced to present our homework really challenged a lot of the assumptions that we had. And that's exactly what you need, especially when you're going to raise money, because investors are going to do that exact same thing. And it really, as painful as it was sometimes, it's extremely necessary, because you're going to get those questions and you're going to need to know how to handle them. And I can personally attest, I got some questions when we were doing the one-on-one presentations where I was like, it's a great question. I'm not 100% sure. So the intensity forced us to be much more prepared and be willing to challenge ourselves, which was invaluable.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like I grew a lot from when I first started to where I am now, but I still have my fears and issues pitching, but I did learn so much from this program, and I did feel more confident from this program, knowing my own company, but also knowing how to present it in a better way. than when I first started. And I feel like that also helped me to feel more encouraged to do a lot of investor reaches to them through emails or whatever I did to get those connections. See, I'm already stuttering. But I think that this program really helped me to grow tremendously through this 12 weeks, and I'm really happy that I was able to be a part of it.
Thank you, Cortland. I'd like to point out or quote Daniel Feliciano, who's on mute right now, so he's probably going to jump off and correct my quote. But the first day that he went through the historical financials, and he wasn't doing privately, it was to the entire cohort as well as mentors and investors. He was like, "This is ballsy. This is really ballsy." I mean, being a New Yorker, you can say that, and it's totally fine. But he was blown away that he needed to publicly talk in a trusted circle, right? Of where exactly is he at, what's been working and not working. It also points to our high expectations about communicating and how to communicate opinions and feedback, because there needs to be trust and transparency, but it has to be done in a very professional as well as constructive ways. Everybody has opinions. It's very much like we all have, a certain part of our body, according to my dad, saying that phrase, but just cleaning it up a pinch. But yeah. But the thing is that, to really help someone out, it's not about your opinion. It's presenting an idea in a way that it gets better accepted. And so that's what we really focus on. And I have to say, side note, one of our criteria when you accept into our program, like you have to bring 10 investors to demo day. Well, we had 160 registrations. Each of these individuals brought more than 10, but Cortland slayed it and she won. I think she had like 30 some odd registrations. She, for being so apprehensive and nervous in the beginning, was the one to truly break out. And because of the confidence it gave her, she had no problems establishing relationships with investors well before demo day, because they had 5 weeks to start building these relationships. And she sure as heck brought them in. I mean, it felt like every 3 hours I was getting another registration because of Cortland. So hats off to the young lady here. She's a go-getter. What other questions? Yes.
So there's a lot of different facets that go into any startup, like from marketing to product development, sales. We only got to see like the face of the company today.
Yeah.
And their experience in going through the accelerator or the mentorship programs. How is that working like with a team of people? And like, do you address all of those types of like growing pains that are there?
Great question. Ron is asking about how do we address the whole team and the whole company growth? Because there are accelerators, I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, please. There are accelerators that are about product development, product market fit, marketing, go-to-market strategy, et cetera. How are we so focused on operations, and do we cover that? Other very important part that you got to get right for the operation. The answer is we have acid tests that see if these pieces were addressed. Our mentors and investors have various backgrounds. Like Nancy is so great with creating customer advisory boards that can basically, she can suggest them to do a program if she sees like, gosh, this is kind of weak. But we don't offer it in our classes. It's more of like a checkbox of like, did you do your homework? What sort of results? Et cetera. Like, I'm not going to say, oh, your customer satisfaction rating is too low and this is how you should fix it, or we're going to supply you support to fix it. There are wonderful programs and organizations that we work with here in Utah that does, like for RevRoad. I adore them. They've been partnering us from like the first day I took this job, and they have a 2-year program, and they have, I think they do 13 different modules. each of them are insanely in depth in that, but that's not what we do in our 12 weeks. We're much more of like, did you do your homework? Are your ducks in a row? Can we get into the deal room? And how does this affect your operations? And how does this affect your appeal to bringing on investors? So we're very narrow, but we go very, very deep as to where we sit. Is that helpful?
You put up your curriculum slide again. I think that just shows how in-depth that you go. So
Great idea. Yeah, if the founders have any comments about the curriculum and how we cover, and then what do we do about the stuff we don't cover?
I mean, one thing is putting us in contact with people that can help us if something wasn't covered. Like that's what's great about the different backgrounds of each of the advisors. Like I know we've switched some of our positioning based on feedback from some of the advisors. So even though homework assignments aren't necessarily geared towards things like product market fit, oftentimes it informs what we deliver for that assignment. And if we work backwards, we can really work with the individual advisors to help kind of make sure our ducks are in a row on that front. I know that was the experience for us. I'm curious if any of the other founders can attest to that.
I 100% agree. I really leaned on the mentors for this because there was, we only have a certain amount of time each week. And, there's some areas that potentially you need to work on, or you need some additional support. And the mentors like Stephanie and others have just been amazing in providing their time and really helping me think through how to approach things, or a different different way to approach things, a different way of thinking about things. So very, very helpful.
Yes, the mentors were amazing in getting back when you didn't know certain subjects, or there was a lot of details about the fundraising process that just have never been covered with me specifically. And I've done another accelerator, and they were very upfront about their thoughts and opinions, but then they were so willing to open up and give us feedback and then help us understand how to correct things. So it was incredible to have such great mentors working with all of us, just to really better us to get to this moment. So thank you all.
Okay, thank you all so much for your time. It's already a little bit after 3. Really appreciate you spending the day with us. Recordings will be sent out later, but thank you so much. Appreciate it all.